Those are bossy. Right. Have we got any apologies for the
Yes, we have councillors Messent and councillors Clark and Mortimer endeavouring to be here, but speaking.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll see those. Item 2 is to elect deputy chair for 22, 24, 25 even. 24, 25. Dates wrong. Anybody like to nominate anyone? Oh, I think probably you, Councillor.
Was it Dawn?
No, it might have been Jamie.
Well, that's to be someone who's not already holds a position.
That's the intent, yeah.
Well, it's
Well, I'm the deputy chair, you're chair,
Yeah.
So,
Looks like,
Dennis,
we have a volunteer. I was
Dennis.
straight.
That's Dennis. I second that. Oh,
All those in favour of Councillor Strayton?
against you? 4-1. Against the penny?
Any abstentions? Any?
Only Dennis.
To note declarations of interest, have you got any declarations of interest relating to items on the agenda?
Can't remember any, but if I can, I'll let you know.
At present, we have no declarations of interest. To confirm the minutes of the Finance and Governance meeting held on the 9th of April. Anybody got any questions in terms of accuracy in the minutes? So Councillor Rose is moving, Councillor Hopper is seconding. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Public participation, I can't see the members of the public. Have we had any questions? And we have no questions. So that section is over with. Right. And then we move on to item 5, which is to review the year-to-date financial position and any material variances for the council.
Well, no, the material variances are a standard audit requirement now on the agenda. But as it's so early in the financial year, effectively the publication agenda means it's just April's numbers on that report. There's not a lot of movement yet. So there's nothing to worry about, there's nothing to look at. That's fine. Fine.
Anybody got any questions or comments? I noticed, am I correct that the amount of ranges, the predicted amount of ranges we're going to have we taken on an extra range of equivalent?
The budget figure is for the 4 ranges with scope for consumables, fuel. The play area ranger, play area operative, they've been recruited and will start on the 24th of June. Initially that's drawn from reserve to be budgeted into next year.
This seems to have gone up quite a lot.
It was considered to match the expectation of inflation pressures on it. As it turns out, the price hasn't gone as much as expected. So we have got some slack in that.
Thank you for that, thank you. It just seems to have gone.
Yeah,
It's but then that's
I think we put 10% on it.
Yeah.
Back in the desperate times of this time.
But you've got to look out for increasing wages and
Yeah,
consumables.
the agreements have been quite challenging.
I won't go any further in that one. Number 6, because we're just noting that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Number 6 is to consider and approve payments to date recommendations to council between the 1st of the 4th, 2024 and the 30th of the 4th, 2024 the value of £55,000, £363.29.
Again, not many, because it's only April so far, but there's been an acceleration of delivery already in May, and June will be the same, but this stage it's not an awful lot. Nothing unusual, surprising on that, as far as I can county losing, which is good.
We have had the payment circulator.
Yeah,
The budget.
Usual processes. This is again another audit requirement and transparency, which we always publish all our payments anyway. And so it's just part of the process to make sure it gets the appropriate level of scrutiny.
So we have to approve these. Is anybody willing to suggest we approve them? Councillor Trent Francis? Anybody with a second? Councillor Murray? All those in favour of approving payments? Right, that's unanimous. And then we go on to review the various documents as part of our annual review cycle. Document management policy, the environmental policy, the equal opportunities and diversity policy, the allotment policy and the co-option policy. Do you want to take those one by one?
I'll do that now, yeah. The document management policy is effectively unchanged. Most of it relates to statutory or best practice approaches and how we retain documents. That's not been amended, there's been no regulatory changes. So literally the only change on that is the rolling date version control on that one. Environment sustainability policy has been updated in line with this references to corporate strategy and elements associated with Cheshire East response to this. There is some changes in there, it's highlighted, but nothing, as far as I understand, any material significance. The equal opportunities and diversity policy, starting on page 22, there's an added aspect associated with gender and self-identified defined identity. Other than that, there are no other amendments. That's on page 22. And page 26 starts the allotments policy, which has been updated a little bit more, just to try and make it clear about the situation. It doesn't refer to federations anymore, but a federation and individual sites that you now contract leased and licensed accordingly, because the second federation couldn't be created. That's how that's been updated. The casual vacancy policy has not been amended. In the pile that has to be reviewed from time to time. So that's the co-option for casual vacancy policy process. And that's where we're up to. Yeah.
From Councillor Benton.
Do we actually, I mean, we're encouraging certain behaviours amongst the Federation and the various site associations, like well-maintained, clean and safe allotments and sustainable practices and so forth. Do we have any way of checking that? Or that we can encourage that as a general principle? And if so, what would it be? Or is it sort of thing like suitable for discussion another time?
It's available to us whenever you want. It's an asset in the system that finds a good one, which is a bit classic. That's a cool thing. There are contracts in place that do with license. They're very gentle contracts in the concept of the site associations are volunteer-led and purely for the benefit of the community. But in them are certain standards that we talk about, and that's fine. So I would suggest that strong enforcement of those would be counterproductive. Might not make, but what are now relatively positive, or I wouldn't say that, I shouldn't dismiss that, positive relationships with the association. I wouldn't want to risk them for the sake of dogma. That wouldn't be helpful. But the conditions that are in there are to protect the assets of the town, great, and then have the principle of sustainability in all those aspects, which is financial and social, but also obviously environmental and stuff like that. There is always going to be, I'm sorry to say, and I know it's a standard issue response, the capacity issue, how much you can engage with lots. The purpose of having them leased on positive terms to the representative group of the Federation of Site Associations is because they are closer to and can administer it far more effectively and efficiently than if we had to employ someone to do that. That was very expensive. Newington is very nominal, so it wouldn't be a great situation with this sort of costs. So at that point, it's how high prices the work you actually do that you want to put it to go out to the local sites and encourage both games and things like that.
I suppose what I was thinking, I mean, it's encouraging. I just wonder, it's actually the role of ward, say, ward councils. I mean, let's face it, this is the only capital land asset we've got, but these are the major one, aren't they?
Yeah.
And just wonder what, it's something that needs to be discussed somewhere within the town council as well. We approve, but it's a coach council, it's approved, no doubt. But then how do we, as members, ensure that it happens? I mean, we have audits and things like that. There's plainly a role there, I would have thought, say, with councils, we've got 11 allotment sites, right? Whichever way you like. That's going to be one or two per. It's going to be one or two or so per ward, isn't it? I just wonder. I just float that really for discussion. I don't think it's a thing to discuss here in this committee. But it's something that's worthwhile discussing in some form or other. But, I don't know what people think which committee might be appropriate, or I'll leave it at that.
Well, I think the point is perfectly fair and valid. There's no challenge to whatsoever. If it's about engagement and positive added value, what the allotments will do for the community and biodiversity, perhaps that is more a public services committee aspect, and that can take forward projects there. Maybe there is, if it's about the asset management, that sits with this committee there. I'm not precious about this thing. It's how our members want to move forward. We've got to remember as well how many members have the capacity and motivation to prioritise their time to invest in that. But I think it's a very positive concept.
I suppose that the thing that prompted this is, I gather that the Wildlife Trust nationally is interested. It's realised that 80% of the population of the UK, or England, lives in towns, urban dwellers. The various wildlife trusts, whether Cheshire or anywhere else, tend to concentrate on the rural. Look at what a wonderful job this couple have done in only 2/3 of an acre. And they've now woken up at 80% of the people, and they're taking an interest in like urban green space, which is very relevant to us in the water sector. So that's what prompts that. I mean, it might be something suitable for planning and environment, I don't know.
Yeah, it's quite right. It could be a project
Or whatever. I'll leave it at that. I'm happy. I'll be happy to propose that particular set of changes.
Right. So, Councillor Hobart has made a suggestion about some link between members and allotments. Question is, how do we take that forward?
I'm happy to contact the ward members on a ward basis what sites you and if they have interest in being put in contact. And if the allotment sites were just in that contact.
If I'm right, you say there's 11,
11.
right, so there's 6 wards, isn't there?
Yeah.
So that means roughly there should be 2 allotments. I know I'm wrong because Cheshire, Crewe East is the biggest one. I know of 2.
No, but they're strangely enough, they're not spread evenly across the town.
It surprised me.
Yes, the Crewe South has got a nice concentration.
Has it? Right. Well, I know of 2 that are in Crewe East.
St. Barnabas
Right. That's Henry Street, or whatever it's called.
has got 3.
Yeah.
Only just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 2.
And the one off of
Underford Road.
Underford Road, yeah. Highway West of the Avenue.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
It's known as Underford
But-
Road allotments.
So really and truthfully, I mean, the amount of councillors that we've got, you would have thought that if we give one of them from that ward, ask them to go and have a check, you're talking of about, what, an hour a year?
I'll look into what members come back in with and see where we're at. I don't want to predetermine.
No, that's good.
It's a really, the allotments are a really positive asset of the town, and the communities on them are really positive. It's been a job of progress to build understanding of different perspectives, understanding where they want to be, where they're going, and it's generally, and I feel unfair saying generally, but it's been a positive process and now it's a positive relationship. I don't see any risk at all. As long as we continue to work together on it, rather than we own, you do. That's not going to work.
But if, for example, if I go to Underwood Road and just say, "Oh, how you doing?" But at least they know that we're taking an interest. And what's it going to cost me? You know, time, half an hour, maybe an hour if you start chatting to them, or maybe half a bloody day if I start. But if Steve's proposed, I'll second it.
Right. Councillor Rose, you want to speak?
Yeah, I just think we just need to look at this in a more less sensitive way. Because when the council back in the day set up through town council, we spent an awful lot of money trying to get the federation to run what that would mean to the individual sites. We had a standoff with what is now called the West End Allotment Cooperative. We had a lot of problems, and that to me now has settled down. You know, I think the sites we've demonstrated as a town council, where we've helped individual sites for protection. For example, we put fences in 2 of the sites in Crewe South, one in Manor Way and the other one. So I think they bought into us as much as the other way around. I don't know about the West End, but they seem to be organised because they were putting in for grants way back and being quite successful and raised beds for the handicap and all the rest of the other sides. So whilst I look at the initiative from the council of when it's suggested, and I'm not against that, I just think we just need to have a softly approach. And because some of the sites, when you just go bold in, I'll just do that, we don't want to cause anything. But I think that we're not hearing too much, and they come to you if they want issues like that. Manor Way, where they're bless some answer, going to pull some trees down. So I do think the relationship from the council to the allotments is 100% better than it was initially, and I think we should just build on that rather than if you want to go in as an individual council, that's entirely up to you anyway. And I know Steve's where it's coming from is how do we know that they haven't set hooks up when they're selling things and doing all that.
But I do annual site inspections on that. So there's an asset management process that we follow, which is annual tree inspections for safety, which we need to get it this year, make sure they're maintained as per recommendations. And annual is more often than it's technically required, but it's a positive action in that sense. And then the sites appreciate that because it's a big job managing trees. And then also do a site inspection and check sheet. And we know it's a site inspection, but equally we find opportunities to apply as well. So that's a management thing there. I think the relationship growth is a positive thing that the members are talking about. And I'm happy to progress it with members on the site, but very much, as Councillor Rose said, in a sensitive way, because we've worked together quite hard over the last couple of years, and I don't think any members are going in negative intent. I don't think the risk will still need some form of care.
Yeah, I'm quite agree.
Councillor Murray?
Can I ask the clerk, is the system broken or not? I did, because the simple fact is, if it isn't broken,
Well, it's not perfect.
no,
So there's always room for improvement and finessing and refinement, and I think it's only good that councils make suggestions. So I take your point, it's going positively. Doesn't mean we can't have fun. Members can't have fun. So I think there's wins to be had at all angles, and you know, the site associations, I've got to say, are very positive groups. They really care and do a lot of work. And members are volunteers and care and do a lot of work. So actually, it's shared end goals there. It's just how we move it forward without it being a little bit overwhelmed.
if it comes to a situation, let's say, where you couldn't cope and couldn't do the inspection, would it be possible then for you to say to the local councillors, can one of you go and have a look and do the inspection of the
It's possible, but it's a question whether you consider it appropriate. Because it puts at risk the council, whereas an officer is supposed to be the person who gets nearer a conversation. It's the wholly support.
if you like, it's just a substitute.
It's entirely possible. I would suggest, I'd recommend to move it forward, I guess the relationship would be a positive ward member, third sector group arrangement, whereby it's a two-way conversation with positive support. How does the council support you? Advocating for both the council and the allotment site existing. And if informally it might be a bit of this out, I think it's a bit heartbroken last week to think about it. And then that's something I can address a bit more
The
formally.
last thing we want to do, I think, is going back to 8 years ago, when it was nigh on war between us and some of the not unbelievable.
I don't think I was even getting close to suggesting. I think the positive suggestions come forward. I'm more than happy to progress it, but very much as Councillor Rose says, in a sensitive, gentle way, and in collaboration with those good volunteers and associations and federation. Because they're all working very well.
Councillor Hogben?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not suggesting the system's broken. It probably was 10 years ago or 10 years ago. I can imagine, I know why as well. But I'm certainly not suggesting. I'm suggesting that Francis is saying as well. If it's a good relationship, members can do a lot to maintain that and improve it. The idea is, build that exactly what like I said, about building on that. It shouldn't be compulsory for members to do things. Not everybody wants to do that. But I think it's in the interests of both the allotments themselves and the council for members to take an active interest in what goes on. So I mean, I think that the suggested approach of making approaches to members. Here's the allotment in your area, are you interested? Or whatever the approach might be. It's quite appropriate. Because I just taken myself, I mean, this is like my case, in Crewe West. I'm not sure whether the allotments in Crewe South or Crewe West, it's probably in Crewe South. You know, the Roskin Road allotments, for example, probably Crewe South. But for the people living, our neighbours who've got a lot there, for example. And it's useful to build that sort of relationship with a local, especially with the, if the allotments are really successful, then there'll be good demand and there'll be waiting lists.
There are waiting lists for most, especially 3 plots. Usual. Yes, I feel properly directed to move that forward.
Right, so I think if I can think back, Councillor Hogben said he was willing to propose the allotment policy.
Yes.
And Councillor Stone Francis seconded that, but we still need the other documents to be proposed and seconded.
Can I suggest that we take them all as one, because I don't think any of us have got any problems with the others. So,
So if we say that
You're
councillor
right,
Hogben,
Steve.
as well as supposedly Longford, is going to propose the others, and councillor Strange Francis is going to second them. So all those in favour? Thank you. Number 8, to provide a review of work streams of this committee in consideration of the corporate governance review and future delivery. Now, we have had a report on this which specifies what our streams of work are. And now I'll hand over to Steve.
Done this for all the committees on their first meeting of this, start this review governance structure, because there has been some shifts in focus and responsibility. And for this committee, as well as the finance and governance cure, there are some practical aspects associated with the work streams as well. And it's fully preparation, but hopefully give context at the start of the process. And listed there on page 44 is obviously the original aspects of finance, budget, audit, and procurement, as well as office IT in general, that associated with the known budget and policy. But we've now acquired this committee, the civic function is seen as a corporate function. The F&G committee, financial committee, is considered a corporate committee, so central to everything. And the civic functions were put in that understandably. Members in elections is not a huge amount to give out, but should there be aspects associated with the code of conduct or understandings and any preparations for elections, bear in mind that the Cheshire East is the elections approach most of that. And then communications has been considered a corporate aspect, and that now sits with this committee. And it's been pulled out, although it was always the case, it's been defined out quite largely. Asset management and the accountability of those physical assets in the council sit with this committee. It is nothing unusual or strange in any of that, so I'm happy to answer any questions. And it's purely for information and just regularising the fact that and recognising the fact that we've moved into a slightly different, broader, I would say, focus for the committee.
Anybody got any comments or questions? So we're happy to note those changes to the work of the committee, which is, we've got a couple of extra jobs to do. So item 9 is to receive an information only report relating to civic functions.
Again, on the same principle, items 9 and 10 are purely to ensure that members have the opportunity to be properly informed. So the civic functions, I think you all know, to be quite frank, but I've just tried to perform as recorded and shared the information associated with what the civic functions are: mayoralty, remembrance and acts of commemoration, tree of life is a local, just like elsewhere, it's a local specific aspect of the civic calendar. And now also civic awards. There can be other civic events depending on the mayor's approach, so there can be things like a civic Sunday or civic carol service or those sorts of things. But they all sit within the purview of this committee now. There's budgets associated to be considered at times. They're fairly standard operational processes. Open to be refined and improved and changed, but really just in context.
Anybody got any questions? So we're happy to note the report and have the right to call. Councillor Francis? Yeah. So item 10 is another similar report to receive the information on the report relating to the website communications.
Yeah, and again, it's the same principle. The communications not sat within this committee before. Is on page, I'll just skip ahead a little bit. On page 63, you'll see the social media statistics, which previously went to M&E, but now come here, and so that'll be a regular report. It's circulated to all members anyway, but equally it's for this committee now to say they're not very good about it, whatever way you want to look at it, or what's missing, and what you want to actually see, that sort of thing, so it gets scrutiny. And I thought it'd be useful from page 49 onwards is what's in our communications plan. Now it's quite a wordy bit of stuff, but really its purpose is to make sure that the communication is consistent and as comprehensive as it can be. Not every action is done on every occasion, it depends entirely on the scale of the information, that sort of thing. But there is consideration given when information goes out, it's not just chucked out at random, and that hopefully gives you some context on that. I think it's might be within the interest of this committee in the future, maybe to talk about what direction of information has been delivered, correct tone and context, or is it from an authoritarian dictatorial tone, or a nice, soft, gentle, apologetic tone, or somewhere in the middle? That sort of thing. It is for this committee to narrow.
This is obviously something that the council have not considered, what tone you would like the communication.
Set your tone on how you want to put it across, yeah?
Exactly, you are right. The purpose, well, one of the many purposes of committees is to ensure that the services delivered by officers, as you would have, you're the democratically elected people. And with the best intention in the world, we can go happily along in our own way without the check and challenge of members. It becomes less relevant.
So we watch this space.
Yeah, any direction you want to give to it.
All I would say, yeah.
Councillor Brown.
What, I think it is important that the town council grows its own trumpet. That actually does publicise its achievements, and of course, very, all too often the negatives, you confuse one authority with another, or they think that the town council is responsible for the highways or the drains, or I don't know, nuclear fallout, things that are nothing, demolishing walls, all sorts of things like that. And I think we should not be afraid to rebut. And if it comes to rebuttal, that has to be done. I think it has to be done firmly but fairly. Because I just get absolutely brassed off with seeing people seeing comments that are misdirected in whichever direction. I really do. You think we've got to, because it is a fact that there are people, there are a lot of people about who don't know the difference between an MP, the borough councillor, the town councillor, and the President of the United States. They really don't. There is actually, I think it's a part we have a part to play also, if you like, in sort of an educational role. You can only do it as a sort of a by the by. But I think it's quite important. I mean, I personally, anyway, if I see something that somebody's talking nonsense, you can't react and respond to all of them. But from time to time, there's the opportunity to do that, even at the risk of having your head shot off. Well, I think we need to call out stupidity or people who misunderstand.
I think it's a very fair point. Now, I would say we don't get involved in online discussions in that way at all. And that's my fault, because I instruct communications officer not to. The reasoning behind that is, I believe, that the vast majority of occasions, people are not looking to be corrected, or or find a different perspective, maybe a nicer way of saying it. And it turns into, as a council, it's a very easy opportunity to do some council bashing. It doesn't require any facts sometimes, it doesn't require a broader perspective, just the fact that once they're out of a bottle over the edge. And that becomes, in my view, I'm afraid, an exercise in diminishing returns. However, and I go back to the initial point I made a little while ago, if members say, if you want us to be more rebuttal, we'll do it. I'm not going to stop it. But I'm just explaining why it hasn't happened so far, because I'm personally not how far I can do it. If you feel I'm wrong, I'm more than happy to overrule myself.
Councillor Murray?
I'm not a big believer in social media. I don't get involved in admins on social media because it causes too much trouble. It's people deliberately put things on social media that want to sell it. And if we start with putting with that, we're all in serious trouble. I don't like social media. I don't put myself out on social media. I have no intention to. But some people do.
Thank you. Councillor Rose, then Councillor Strickland.
Yeah, I think we should learn from what I believe were the mistakes made in the early days of this council, where it was used what appeared to be the clerk's individual account, and it caused a lot of concern. So I would want to see you. I think what you're doing is the correct way, in my opinion. Not encouraging any of our staff to engage with it, because clearly someone got an agenda, and once they wind you up and sitting in their bedroom in Middlesbrough to wind you up, then you're off, you're away. So I would rather you continued by just putting the facts on there. Some don't disagree with that, or some be it. The second, the other point is that I've noticed recently Cheshire East, who I believe put some very valuable information on their particular Facebook. I don't know about Twitter, I don't do Twitter, but I do have access to Facebook. And they turn their comments off, because clearly you've got a load of rubbish that the people have put, and you know what it's all about. It's a political thing, rather than actually saying, well, this is it. And it always turns back to it. So if Cheshire East spends thousands of pounds on something positive and good, someone said, well, we'd be better off spending them on potholes. And it's the same names, you can see it, and sometimes you can go onto those and see where they are. And one per individual, I checked the other week, I thought, well, that's it. What a comment that is. And when I went on it, he was in Texas. He may have lived in Crewe at some point, but he doesn't live here now. So I say to that guy, if he tunes in, one of the 23 that might listen to us, wind your neck in and get a life.
Thank you, Councillor Rose, and that's quite good at that. Councillor Strickland.
I don't like it. I don't like social media at all. There's a gentleman in town, every time he sees me, he's, hello Dennis, it's so nice to see you. And when I get home off my head, telling me what I am. And it's always the same. So nowadays, I'll say morning and keep away from him. Because it doesn't matter what I say to him. I know that he's going to have a right go at me on Facebook. So I'll just stay away from him. It's just something. The other one is a certain gentleman that used to be a town mayor, Crewe and Lambics mayor, and he said something one day which I totally disagreed with, and then he started correcting me, telling me that he wasn't this and he wasn't that, and I know he was. So I thought, there's no point in it, and you all know what I'm talking about. So yeah, you're right, Pete. You carry on doing what you're doing.
Councillor
I'll
Holiday.
get back to my original point, which was actually that we need to accentuate the positive. We need pull out the achievements. You know, I'm not sure that there's an awful lot of good stuff goes out there. Sometimes we maybe miss the opportunity and before it's well made. John made the point. You know, there are ways of managing your posts on social media, one sort or another, to all that. And actually, depending on what it is, I certainly wouldn't suggest the officers get involved in any argy-bargy. If the comments start, now let's face it, you get if somebody starts having a go and then you get a response, particularly if it's from somebody that's doing council, they can call them what they like, I don't care. You know, it can actually increase the followers, can't it? It can actually increase the reach. So, yeah, I certainly would want to encourage people who are doubtful virtue, such as the thing that mentions names escaping. But yeah, I think accentuate the positive and actually defend it if you want to. That's up to members, I think. You know, members are not bound unless I suppose somebody says, you know, why you're nephew or something.
Right, so I think before we get into any more asides, we'll close this item and say yes, we'd like to accentuate the positive.
Okay. But you do, I apologise, I'm not going to close it. It's not, there's no teaching it. But in terms of comments, we do keep them switched on because we do measure it, and there are numbers and metrics to back it up. The comments generally are inquisitive, which is, we can clarify things, where it is, when it is. And more often than not, when we're setting those things to play on, I apologise, are relatively positive. Considering it says council at the end of our name, in that context, relatively positive. It's rare, thankfully, that we get a failure in the post. And in terms of accentuating positives, I've asked them, and they're coming out very well. I've asked the communication officer to develop infographics to show what the combined efforts are actually delivering. And they've come out, coming out piece by piece, because you can't throw them all out at once, like they're lost. And they're very positive, and I have asked them to be sent to us. I think it's happened, but I can't remember. We'll make sure it's done. If it's not done already, it's done, and done again, to make sure they all get down, because they're very helpful. And, you know, in the market with success, that will be expressed. So we do try and do that, but if we miss a positive, please let us know. We're happy to keep up with that.
Okay, thank you. So we move on to item 11, which is to consider the provision of a printed newsletter. Now, we have had some draft design with the pack.
Yeah, and
you want to give a brief introduction?
yeah, this comes off as an idea, and she's done all the work to this. It's a traditional newsletter concept, you know, something new, but we don't want to throw the baby out of the bathwater and go all digital, because there are those who don't engage digitally, who don't want to engage digitally, who would just like to have something to read that's physical, which is totally understandable and right. And the comms officer in April presented reports to give an idea of options and costs associated. She was directed then to ask all members for their views, which she did, and has come back with this updated report. It's not very updated, we want to use response. That said, one response came in last week, a little after publishing this, from Professor Pratt, and he expressed that, just this for completeness, because this has any other response in it, and I'm quite prepared to include this one, expressed that printing material delivered to houses isn't always very successful, whatnot, it's lost amongst other junk mail. It's his personal view that a smaller print run, distributed to community points in schools, etc., is better than doing it every home, or more effective and efficient. And its print run could be smaller, and it might possibly be more regular, even 3 months if you use, if there's not news to put in it, so be careful with that one. And the name of it should really contain the word could. That's their response to that consultation for them. sharing that context of the report. So you have this report, it indicates, would you like to go ahead? If you would like to go ahead, how? Print limited to one to every household, which is, in essence, printing 30,000 copies to nearly 27,000 households delivery. That comes in at 6,600, something like that. To print run of 10,000 was in the original report, and deliver them to all the major community hubs and locations that we might pick them up. If you have 10,000, that would be a print of about 1,300. And if you'd like to change the name or consider any other aspects, that's entirely at your discretion.
Any comments? Kevin?
Yeah, I think we ought to call it crew on track, rather than crew new job or something. At least that way, if we're putting anything in that's positive, at least we are on track. I mean, I don't like the sound of crew music, to be honest with you. I was tracking it just a little bit, what, really.
I like to return council legal. I mean, you can go, we can go around house about name, but the point being, we've had some comment there from council that it might get lost in the jumble. Well, the criticism we get is we don't deliver it, we don't deliver it. So you can either take a position where you're going to deliver to every house, and at the end of the day, it might come through there and go, you took it out, we don't know, but at least we delivered it. Or you can go the other way, which is cheaper, put it in all your hubs, your schools, and all that, and then feed off that, whether it's a positive response from that, and then build on it. I'm not fussed either way, but I think I just think we have to have an alternative to just do it online. So I'm not. I'd love to be able to put it into every house in the town if you can do it. But if you just wanted to see how you see a smaller way, you could put it in the hubs, But I won't go and go back to the name. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a newsletter, isn't it? It's telling. I think we're building really on the positivity that the town council does in its actions. It does have a positive, and you just touched on that by the comments on social media, which is an easy one to put negative. But generally speaking, it's like an event you put on. I mean, this week, the news today is at the back. It's some positivity. It seems to have gone down well. It was well attended. And it's free in that sense. It's not free. It costs money. We're all contributing to that. So I think that there's that much positivity that could be in it. I won't go about the name, but Good News Week or something. You know what I mean? Yes. There's some there. Anyway, so I just think. No. I just think this is a very positive thing, and we shouldn't beat ourselves up about how we're going to do it. I think we've got to put it out and then build on it. But I think it'll be very positive for what we're doing here. I really do.
I like the second one he's just said.
Okay. Speak, Councillor Hogben and Councillor Murray.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I saw the email or not. I mean, I've got a bit behind holiday a few weeks ago. But I'm surprised that it's been suggested that newsletter should only be once a year. I thought it would be twice a year. That's in my view. Twice a year. But I mean, again, as has already been said, do we have to make a fixed decision now? I'm not sure that we do.
No, I think
if it were on an annual basis, we could say, well, they could go out with the council tax about March or something like that. That would be a suitable time, possibly. But I think it needs a bit more open. I mean, as I recall the discussion here last time, it was simply very well in the spring and maybe the autumn, a couple of times a year. But I mean, can we be flexible about that? Can we be flexible actually about the distribution as well? You know, I mean, 30,000. I know there's a cost related to it, all of this, but I just wonder how much there is to manoeuvre and to extend it. Actually, we could call it all sorts of things.
I think the officers need some direction as to what to do. I understand that you want flexibility, but they do need some direction. And what's been said about a possible trial of 10,000 might be the way forward, because you could try it out, then you could try a title and then you could get feedback from people from the various clubs about what they thought about the title and what they thought about the content. But if it's only going to be annual, then it's going to have to be what we've done, where what we've been sent out is what is happening. So you've got to have a decision, and that has to be made tonight. Is it going to be retrospective, or is it going to be public? Is it going to be publicising things that are coming up? So is it going to be, this is what we've done, or this is what's on next?
So if I make a personal recommendation, that conduct people as factual and it's about responses, I would perceive that it's all under review. That's a good, perfectly fair point that's on. I think it'd be a real shame to just want to see it. I don't think that's going to achieve anything we want to achieve other than a tiny every now and then. I would suggest the minimum 10,000 is a starting point, and we go out to every community location, make sure they're out straight away. I would suggest that at least 6 months, if not quarterly, is required, because just your point is exactly right. It will always be this happened, and you can't go to it now. It's going to be really hard to say anything different, isn't it? Whereas I think if I may, I would ask that you direct us to seek it quarterly up until the end of the financial year, and then whilst we're going through budget settings, have a constant review of that, so that we come round with a budget around whether it's quarterly or half yearly, or not ever again. It's an absolute dog's din and we fail miserably. That's always an option. Stop doing it, and direct us just to keep in review and report back to the committee saying printed 10,000, but maybe you write out the back what do you think of this and what would you like to see in it? What would you like to see more of us do more of, and that sort of thing.
Not suggested the name should be a double.
I don't think that's going to help anything about perceptions.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Strange Francis, please bring some
I
sound.
can't get that out of me.
Right, okay.
No, can we not use both? This is what we've done, and this is what we're going to do. And I agree. I personally think twice a year would be ample, in my opinion.
Well, I think, I mean, I think the suggestion 10,000 for starters, it is an experiment, and I think it's call it 10,000 with suitable distribution, and I think the idea is that we'll try it every quarter. If officers feel they can achieve that, it doesn't have to be 10 pages of 8 pages, it could be something, and see how it goes. And actually, when it comes to the name, you could start off with something really straightforward, such as it suggests Crewe Town Council newsletter, and then you can say, what do you think of that? And ask it, and then there's rubbish, or it's great, or something like some genius, some PR genius who comes up with an honest suggestion.
How many will it take to fill
You
my
could change
part?
the name. You could change the name. First one's Crewe Town Council newsletter. The next one, newly launched.
This has got to be attractive to all ages. It's got to be attractive to teenagers as well as the top end of the scale pensioners and whatever. You need to get this through to all age groups.
Well, it's a nice thing I'm making a promise.
It is, yeah.
Because most of the people who engage digitally, we can make it available digitally.
Yeah.
Who's the officer doing it?
comms officer, Suzanne. So,
I just, so if I can propose what we just said, to clarify, then if anybody's got any arguments with what I'm saying, we can clarify that. Now, we would want, ideally, the newsletter quarterly. But ideally, we'd like it to say what's coming up, but also mention anything that's in the past has been particularly successful. That initially we'd want a 10,000 run, which would then be evaluated, which I think Suzanne would do automatically anyway, and that the first title is just simply Crewe Town Council newsletter.
You can always put those suggestions of names in there, and that's somebody.
Yeah, and then we kind of do a thick sort of straw poll thing on the back about what should it be called.
As our, sorry, as our next meeting is September, are we gonna give them sort of carte blanche to get everything ready, so that in September, we just say, yes, let's put it forward?
Well, I'm sure that we can, if it's ready before September, we can agree the content and whatever by email.
I would say we need direction now. Given a potential proposal that more than 10,000 positions to be reviewed, aiming for a quarterly basis, circulating to community service hubs, schools, health facilities, and third sector locations. Focus on what's coming up as well as positive things that have happened with the consultative aspect. And that's pretty clear direction, I would say, and calling it through 10,000 users.
But do members want any say what the content is? That is the other question.
I think that whoever the editor is, I think the editor should have control of the content. Whether the editor is the town councillor or whatever,
Can I propose that
Councillor
we,
Rose
sorry,
wanted to speak, sorry Dennis.
I think we should just leave the officers. But all I would ask, can we just set a date when we would then review it before for example, I wouldn't want to commit to 4 newsletters before we actually review. Can we have it as a standing item on the agenda there, so that we can then monitor and get a report back from, so we can look at that. That's, I mean, I don't particularly want, I think the first one should be just done.
So we're leaving editorial
Well, that's,
to the officers. Dennis?
well, I propose we go ahead.
Right. So, to read that then, it's correctly, it's right. Quarterly newsletter. Basically, saying what is going to be, what the town council is putting on, also some retrospective of what's happening that's positive. That we want 10,000 distributed to community hubs, and that the initial title is Crewe Town Council newsletter, and that we will have a report back evaluation from that first 10,000 at the appropriate time.
Next week.
Yep.
September.
Which will be September.
Next
Right.
week is,
Does anybody
next week.
if I propose that, if anybody wants a second, council members seconding, all those in favour? So now we go on to item 12, which is the thrilling schedule for drafting the budget for 25-26.
We are already so far into the new financial year for the fund to start talking about the next financial year. Which is the process we've adopted. It allows for a good long look at potential opportunities and risks within the financial management of the council's future, and it also takes into consideration in this time scale the review of the medium-term financial strategy plan, which we do annually anyway. It gives, I think, 14 bites to the cherry, it's 14 good coats looking at there. It allows for each committee to see to review its potential budget twice. It allows for council to look at it twice, and this committee to have oversight, because fiscal responsibility, well, fiscal scrutiny is this committee. And equally, it will be issued to members individually, for them to have individual comments and some information from officers based on forecasting. So it's a structure we've done for the last 3 years. It's provided members with total oversight of the budget setting process. It tends to lead to no surprises and a good, steady, responsible way of managing the future budget, is my view on this. I think we may not all have seen this report before, but it's very similar to one that we issued in previous years.
Do we need approval or just as consider?
I think it'd be right for you to give me the clear direction. This is how you want to set a budget, and you're happy with the plan and structure of that, and the process, and the time scales, and the opportunities for people to inform.
Councillor Hopper.
What was the opportunity for any public consultation?
Right, well, there's going to be 10 public meetings, which are all open to the public. It's published online several times. There was an election in May 2023, which is the democratic mandate. I have, in the past, not here, issued a town-wide budget consultation. That was, in my view, also a bit biased, was positive and had significant value, but I did that the year prior to the election so that any budget set was based on broad consultation prior to the election. So you're welcome, as I told you, if you want broad consultation, that's fine, we should go into time scale, which isn't impossible. But I do have a belief that the purpose of selecting councillors through election provides the mandate to direct the council. And the opportunities, as laid out before, show when it's going to be published multiple times through the process.
That's fine. I'd say, yeah, May 23 that's been gone, and we moved on from the election and opened the mandate last year. But it doesn't necessarily give us does that really give us a mandate to do it absolutely as we like in the next 4 years without taking any notice of the public?
Yes, actually, I don't think members, there's 20 members, I think members are that blood-minded if they go that route. But that is a democratic process, yeah.
I mean, I think in all like statistics, we've been talking about communications a bit earlier on. Right, if it's clearly understood by members of the public in some way, here's your opportunity, the town council to consider these budgets and it will be at these meetings, or things will be available to you, then let them know. That is a good idea. What a good idea.
Who was thinking of that?
And you could focus it in the appropriate direction. Of course, I mean, that would be quite useful because to just inform people this is a way to have your say. I mean, if we want public engagement, it's one thing to say yes, you've got a mandate, so there's a mandate to rule or whatever it is. But it's also right that we engage the public. I mean, if they don't want to come, if they're not bothered, it's up to them. But I think it's in our own interest, and that the general wide community to know, well, here's your opportunity. What?
So you're not suggesting that we have an online consultation?
I didn't suggest that.
Yeah, I'm just making clear what you were suggesting.
Well, making clear that, here we have something. Here's a table, this is probably a public document, isn't it? It says here, there's no harm in fact in making that known, is there? The council will be considering the budget. This is the sort of timetable that has been approved. I mean, I think approved is not and you can have your say.
Well, that we've given the editorial control to the officers, so it's not our decision.
I still feel I can be direct.
Press releases, we do press releases all the time, don't we?
Yeah,
It's only a suggestion, it's not a direction.
right, we need to approve this. We need to approve, is anybody willing to propose that we accept the draft budget setting process as outlined? Councillor Rowe, Councillor Hogan, seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. Thank you, and I am now officially closing the meeting.